I wasn't always like this. There was a time I had dreams, small ones maybe, but they were mine. A family, a steady job, a place to come home to where silence didn't feel like it was swallowing me whole. But dreams are expensive, and life is a cruel debt collector. I was 29 when everything collapsed. First came the layoffs. The company I worked for shuttered its doors overnight. No warning, no severance. Just a meeting at 4 p.m. on a Friday in a garbage bag to carry out the remnants of 10 wasted years. Then came the eviction. 2 months later, I was living out of my car. After that, my girl left. I don't blame her. Who wants to tie their future to a man who has none? I slept in parking lots and bathed in gas station sinks, ate crackers and apples stolen from corner stores. People stopped looking me in the eye. The world became a series of shut doors, flickering streetlights, and pitying glances I didn't ask for. Depression isn't just sadness. It's a slow erosion of belief in yourself, in others, in tomorrow. I didn't believe in God. I didn't believe in anything. Not in fate. Not in luck. Especially not in redemption. I believed in gravity, that what falls will keep falling. Then I found the book. It was a fluke. A yard sale in a cul-de-sac I wandered into looking for scraps. Everything cost $1. I almost didn't see the book. It was tucked beneath a chipped porcelain clown and a dusty VHS of Beetlejuice thick, bound in cracked leather, no title. When I picked it up, I expected it to fall apart in my hands, but it felt alive. The pages didn't yellow, they bruised. Deep umber along the edges, like dried skin. I opened it. The writing was erratic, some in English, some in Latin, some in things I couldn't name, symbols that twisted the longer I looked at them, illustrations of figures with too many limbs, eyes without faces, doors with no walls, the kind of thing that gives you a chill behind your ears. I should have put it down. But I didn't. Toward the end, I found a passage, handwritten, unlike the rest, not in ink, not quite. It was dark, brownish-black, and crusted at the edges like it had clotted there 100 years ago. It looked like dried blood. Neat, perfect cursive, almost mechanical. But the words, they felt like they were for me. This is for the hollow, for the hopeless, for those who have run out of road and see only the cliff. To you we offer light, not above, but below. You will be given wealth, health, love, anything you wish. The cost is time, 10 years, 10 perfect years. Then payment is due. Go to the crossroads, outside the city, where field meets forest. Midnight, bring the book. Say nothing. Wait. I remember laughing. Not out loud, just a single breath, half choked. It was ridiculous. I didn't believe in God, so why should I believe in the devil? Still, that night, I drove. Not out of belief, not because I thought I might be saved. No, I went there because I had finally run out of reasons not to die. I figured I'd end it in a way that would mess with whoever found me. Maybe they'd think it was a ritual, or that something unholy had happened, that the man in the Corolla with the broken taillight had seen something forbidden before he died. I took the book with me. The crossroads was miles outside the city, beyond where streetlights die and only stars remain. No houses, just wheat fields and dark, whispering woods. The kind of place the wind sounded different, thicker, like it carried secrets. I parked, sat for a minute, Checked my phone, no service. Midnight struck. Nothing happened. I got out of the car. The sky was clear, the moon was sharp. I felt stupid, cold. I stepped into the center of the gravel crossroads, held the book under one arm, and waited. A laugh escaped me. Short, bitter. I really drove all the way out here for a joke. But the laugh died in my throat. He was there. Not suddenly. Not with a flash or a thunderclap. I just noticed him. A man, maybe 30 feet away, standing just beyond the edge of the field where the moonlight didn't quite reach. His silhouette was sharp against the void. He wore an immaculate black suit, slim, tailored. He stood tall, hands folded behind his back. Even in shadow, I could tell he was beautiful in the way fire is beautiful. Dangerous, mesmerizing, unknowable. He stepped forward. "You brought the book," he said. His voice was smooth, calm, not deep, not mocking, just certain, like a surgeon or a hangman. I didn't speak. Couldn't. "I know why you're here," he said. "I know what you want, and I can give it to you." He stopped an arm's length away. Up close, he looked human, but too perfect. His eyes were pale gray, almost silver, skin like ivory. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I offer 10 years, 10 good years. All you've lost, you'll regain. And more, love, money, health, fame, if you want it. But at the end of 10 years, payment is due." I swallowed. "What's the payment?" He tilted his head. "Let's not spoil the ending." He extended a hand. From his coat he pulled a paper, thick parchment covered in black script. At the bottom was a blank line. "Sign your name with this." He handed me a quill. I took it. The nib was metal, but when I dipped it in the ink pot he produced, it gleamed red. I signed. The moment I did, the signature shimmered. The paper folded itself and disappeared into his jacket. He smiled. "Congratulations." Then he vanished. No smoke, no flash. Just gone. I drove home in a daze, and that night I dreamed of fire, of clocks melting, of someone screaming in a voice that sounded like mine. When I woke up, everything changed. The first thing I noticed was the apartment. I woke up in a bed I didn't recognize. Firm mattress, down comforter, white sheets that smelled like lavender. Sunlight filtered in through floor-length curtains. The room was huge, modern, with black tile floors and a minimalist design. My name was on the lease. The framed certificate on the wall said I owned a company I had never heard of, and the account balance in my banking app nearly made me drop the phone. 7 figures. Real liquid. Over the next few weeks, everything unfurled like a dream. I met Alicia at a gallery opening downtown. Flawless smile, jet black hair, a laugh that cracked open my ribs. She said she felt like we had met before. Within 3 months, we were inseparable. By the end of the year, we were married in a small ceremony on a beach in Maui. My business flourished. I didn't understand what we sold exactly. Tech something, cloud-based systems, always vague, but everyone wanted in. Clients poured money into our accounts. My name appeared in Forbes. Podcasts asked for interviews. Influencers shared my quotes with bold fonts over hazy cityscapes. I felt alive, maybe for the first time. I forgot what it was like to be cold and hungry. I forgot how it felt to want to die. But I didn't forget the man in black. He never appeared again. Not physically, But I knew he was there, watching, waiting. Time passed fast. The kind of fast that leaves you dizzy. The kind of fast that makes you miss things, subtle cracks in the paint, hints of rot behind the wallpaper. But I was too busy living the dream to care, until the 9th year. Then things started to change. Mirrors began to behave strangely. At first I thought it was fatigue, stress hallucinations. I'd catch a flicker of movement when I was still, a smile that lingered too long, my reflection tilting its head slightly to the left when I didn't. One night I swore I saw my mirrored self grinning while I stared in horror. I started waking up at exactly 11:59 p.m. Always. The clocks in the apartment froze at that moment. I replaced them. Battery, digital, it didn't matter. Midnight never arrived. And every time I blinked, I could feel something behind my eyelids waiting. Alicia noticed. She said I was distant. Said I looked pale. Said she heard me whispering to someone in my sleep. Then she forgot my name. It was subtle. A pause when she addressed me, a frown a moment too long. One morning she handed me coffee and said, "Here you go, Mark." My name isn't Mark. I asked her about it. She laughed it off. Slip of the tongue, she said. But then she did it again, and again, until one night I heard her whispering on the phone to someone. "He says we're married. I think he's confused. Should I call someone?" I confronted her. She cried. Said she didn't know me. Said someone had been in her dreams, tall, well-dressed, silver eyes. That night I saw him again, across the street, standing beneath a dead streetlight, immaculate black suit, hands folded. He smiled. I slammed the curtains shut. They reopened themselves 10 minutes later. The 10th year is almost over now. Payment is due. I stopped sleeping. Not by choice, not by fear. Sleep just stopped happening. Even the strongest pills did nothing. I would close my eyes, and instead of dreams, there would be him. Sometimes watching, sometimes whispering. Sometimes I'd open my eyes, and he'd still be there, standing at the foot of the bed, hands behind his back, expression placid, like he was waiting in line at the DMV. He never moved, never blinked, but he was always there. Eventually, Alicia stopped seeing him, stopped seeing anything. One morning, she walked past me in the kitchen like I wasn't there at all. She didn't flinch when I spoke, didn't turn her head. I reached out to touch her arm, and my hand passed through empty air. She was gone. Not physically, but the version of her that knew me, the version that laughed in Maui and kissed me in art galleries, had been carved out and discarded. I was alone again, but this time I wasn't homeless or hungry. I was surrounded by everything I ever wanted, and I had never felt more hollow. I tried to reach out to old friends. Messages went unread, numbers disconnected. Even my company, the empire built from nowhere, began to turn on me. The board voted me out. My bank accounts froze. Journalists started digging. Words like fraud, shell company, laundering bubbled up online. It was as if the world had conspired to collapse in on me, right on cue. Then I got the letter. It wasn't mailed, just left on a nightstand. Heavy parchment. Same mechanical, perfect cursive. Dark, dried blood ink. Midnight, the crossroads. Bring the book. That night I sat on the edge of my expensive bed, holding that damned leather-bound thing in my lap. It had changed. The pages were no longer bruised. They were slick, wet, as if the ink had begun to seep outward like oil from a drowned corpse. I waited until 11:30, got in the car, drove without headlights. There were no other cars on the road, just silence, and the book whispering to me every time I thought about turning back. The crossroads hadn't changed. Still those same gravel paths splitting 4 ways into black nothing. Still the tall stalks of wheat shivering in the windless air. Still the woods pressed tight and breathless around it, like the mouth of something waiting to swallow. I stepped out, book in hand. He was already there. This time closer, no distance, no shadow. He stood right at the center where the roads met, and smiled like a man who had come to collect something he'd been owed for a long, long time. "You've done well," he said. 10 years without incident. You even tried to enjoy it. That's rare. I opened my mouth to speak, but my throat locked. My tongue felt heavy. "You want to know what happens next?" he continued. "It's a fair question." He raised one hand and snapped his fingers. The wind stopped. The stars blinked out. The fields around us melted into black glass, reflecting not the sky above, but something beneath. Shapes moving just out of focus, worming, writhing things, limbs that didn't follow bone or biology. I tried to step back. He grabbed my wrist. Not hard, not violently, but with finality. "You made a deal," he said. "Time to pay." From beneath his coat, he pulled another parchment. This one was blank except for a single phrase, written dead center in that same old ink. "Name the price." I shook my head. "You said 10 years. That was the deal. Not my soul, not my life." He smiled, teeth too white. "I never said it would cost your life," he said. "That's what you assumed. Some debts are more creative." He pressed the paper against my chest. "Name it." The silence stretched. I could feel them below us now, the ones trapped in the glass, watching, reaching. "What if I don't?" I asked. "What if I choose nothing?" His smile didn't change. "Then you become the price." The wind resumed. The stars flickered back. I was standing alone again, no man in black, no parchment. Just the book in my hands and the realization that I had 3 choices. 1, name a price and pay with something or someone else. 2, refuse and be taken. 3, run. Only deep down, I knew the last wasn't an option. You don't run from the devil. You just postpone the moment he knocks. I didn't go home. After the man in black vanished, I stood in the crossroads until my legs went numb and my mind began to unravel in slow, spiraling patterns. Name the price. It sounded simple. Just a word. A request. A way out, but I knew better. He never asked anything without cost. The devil never gave without taking more. I drove until dawn, ended up at some roadside motel 3 times over. Cash only, no ID. I sat on the bed for hours with the book in my lap and the note echoing in my head. Who would I damn? That was a question, wasn't it? If I refused to pay with myself, I had to give him someone else. A trade. A soul for a soul. I didn't know the rules, not exactly, but I knew evil when I saw it. I knew the language of parasites. By that afternoon, I had convinced myself it was a test. a sick cosmic joke. He'd vanish again if I ignored him. Maybe this was all a psychotic break. Years of stress, exhaustion, and pressure boiling over into a hallucination. People cracked all the time. I was no different. But that night, as I lay on the lumpy mattress staring at the ceiling, the lights in the motel began to flicker. Then the voices came. Whispers at first, just barely audible over the hum of the old air unit. But they grew louder, more urgent, 1,000 tongues wet with venom. He's waiting. Time is ticking. Clock is winding down. Name the price. I screamed. Nothing changed. I started researching soul-selling legends. Not the internet fluff, the real stuff. Old demonology. Forbidden texts. I flew to a university in Prague and paid a professor $10,000 in cash for access to their occult archive. The more I read, the colder I became. This had happened before. Maybe not exactly like mine, but similar. Bargains, promises, deals struck in desperation. Most people didn't survive past the payment. The ones that did were not right afterward. The professor told me in hushed tones over a glass of absinthe, he doesn't take souls. He collects stories, tragedies, collateral. Each contract is tailored. Each payment is personal. I asked what happened to those who refused. He just crossed himself and said, they become part of the next book. That night I dreamed of Alicia, but not as I remembered her. She was sobbing, kneeling on a road that bled into blackness. Her mouth was sewn shut. Her eyes were wide with horror. Behind her stood the man in black, resting a hand gently on her shoulder like she was a favorite pet. When I woke up, I checked her name. Her phone number was gone. Her email returned an error. No online footprint. I drove to the gallery where we met. It was boarded up. The beach in Maui, storm-swept and deserted. Alicia no longer existed. Like she'd been wiped from the world to make room for my fantasy. She was never real, a voice whispered in my mind. You traded nothing for everything. But if that was true, what would happen if I did name someone real? I started making a list. Not proudly, not easily. I thought about people who had wronged me. The boss who laid me off, the landlord who changed the locks, the guy in high school who broke my nose and laughed. I tried to rationalize it. He's a monster anyway. She's a crook. He'd never be missed. But each time I read one of their names aloud, nothing happened. Until I said a name I didn't expect. Me. The book opened itself. A new page had appeared. My name. My birth date. 10-year countdown, with a thin black line ticking closer to 0. Below that, a prompt. If not you, then who? The pen materialized in my hand. Same one as before. Same dark red ink. I held it over the page. And for one terrible burning second, I considered writing my brother's name. Jason. He had a wife, 2 kids, a nice home. He'd always had it easier than me. I told myself he could survive it, that he'd understand, that I had no other way. But my hand shook, my vision blurred, and the pen fell from my fingers. I couldn't do it. Not yet. The man in black appeared again that night. This time he sat at the foot of my bed like a friend visiting a grieving widow. You've delayed long enough, he said softly. The 10th year ends in 3 days. I didn't answer. I can offer you something more, he said. An extension. 5 more years. Just 5. Enough to rebuild. Enough to say goodbye. All you have to do is name someone. I stared at him. And if I don't? He didn't smile. I'd tear your story out. I didn't sleep again that night. Not because I couldn't. Because I didn't know who I might damn while dreaming. The next morning, I tried to go outside. I made it as far as the lobby before I saw him. The man in black, seated at a cafe table across the street, reading a newspaper like he had all the time in the world. He didn't look up. He didn't have to. I turned and went back to my apartment without crossing. My phone still worked. My money was still in the bank. The world kept spinning, indifferent. No one screamed in the streets. No flames fell from the sky. If this was the end, it would not be loud. It would be personal. For the first time in years, I called my mother. She didn't answer. Left me a voicemail that said, "Sorry I missed you. Hope you're doing well. Call again soon." Her voice didn't sound quite the same. Colder, maybe. Detached. But I knew that wasn't magic. That was time, distance, shame I'd buried under 1,000 excuses. I wanted to see her. I wanted to see anyone. But I didn't trust myself to be around them. Because every interaction came with a question. Could I name them? Not out of hate. Out of desperation. Out of fear. Day 2. 2 days left. I went to a church. Not because I found God, but because it was quiet. The priest was old, gray, gentle-eyed. He asked if I wanted confession. I almost laughed. I told him I didn't believe in anything. "That's all right," he said, settling onto the bench beside me. "God still believes in you." I didn't answer. I wanted to ask him something. If you had to trade someone's soul to save your own, and you knew it would happen, and you knew there was no way out, could you do it? But I didn't, because I already knew the answer he'd give, and I didn't want to hear it. That night, I made a second list. Not of enemies, of strangers. People I'd seen but didn't know. Baristas. Passers-by. The man who lived 2 floors down, who nodded politely but never smiled. I sat in the kitchen with the book open and a coffee mug half full of whiskey, writing names at random. One by one. I tested them. I said them aloud. I pictured their faces. Nothing happened. The ink wouldn't absorb. The page remained blank. I started to understand. It had to mean something. The devil didn't want blood. He wanted value. It had to cost me. The devil wanted something that would hurt. 12 hours left. The man in black appeared in my hallway this time. Not inside. Just down the corridor, standing beneath the exit sign. Watching. "Running out of road," he said. I stood in the doorway. "I won't do it." He tilted his head. "Then it ends here. I'll take the consequence, whatever it is." "I believe you," he said calmly. "That's what makes you special. But the book still needs its ending." He held something up. A second contract. Blank. No name, no terms. Just white paper and a space for my signature. "What is this?" I asked. He stepped closer. "A choice. I already signed your deal. And now you decide how it ends. You can walk away, right now. Leave all this behind. But something must be taken. What if I say no again?" He paused. "Then we wait. and then he left. I didn't sleep. I sat in the dark with the book open in front of me. The original contract still shimmered faintly, my name glowing like a vein beneath the paper. The countdown line had almost reached 0. I opened my laptop. I scrolled my contacts. I read old messages, old emails, looking for someone, anyone I might justify sacrificing. There was no one. I had no enemies left, only ghosts. The hour approached midnight. The lights in my apartment flickered. Not by magic, just the cheap wiring I never fixed. The clock on my oven blinked 11:58. I picked up the quill, not to write a name, but to write something else, anything. The truth, maybe. I'm sorry. I was afraid. I didn't know what else to do. I wanted to live. I was still writing when the knock came. One soft, measured knock. The kind that said, "It's time." I stood. I opened the door. And there he was. The man in black. Same suit, same stillness, same pale eyes. "May I come in?" he asked. I didn't answer. He stepped inside anyway, and he closed the door behind him. He sat in my chair like he'd always belonged there. Not a speck of dust on his suit. Legs crossed, hands folded neatly in his lap. He didn't look around the apartment, didn't take in the view, just waited. I stood across from him like a guilty tenant in a landlord's office. "You've had 10 good years," he said softly. I held up my hand. "I know." The words tasted like rust. He gestured at the contract still on the counter. "And now we finish." I looked down at the second sheet, blank white, empty except for the small, handwritten instruction in the bottom corner. "Name your substitute." I didn't speak. "I'm not here to gloat," he said. "I don't punish. I collect. That's all. You said it would be me. And it can be. You signed. I'll take you if that's what you decide. But I have a choice." He nodded once. I sat down, across from him. The table between us felt impossibly small. "I spent the last 10 years trying to forget who I was before," I said. "But he's still there, the man in the car, the man who wanted to die." "You should have died," he said. "No malice, just a fact." "I know, but I didn't. You gave me everything." He raised an eyebrow. "And now I want something small in return, a name." I closed my eyes, and I tried to think. Not about people I hated, not about people who hurt me. Those were easy thoughts, vengeful, emotional. He wouldn't accept them. No, the question was harder. Who do I love enough to give up? Because that's what it would take. I reached for the quill. My hand hovered. Alicia's name flickered in the back of my mind. The woman who once held me at my lowest, who now barely remembered me. Could I trade her for 10 more years? No. My mother's name. The last voicemail, her tired voice, still trying. No. Then I thought of a stranger. A homeless man who used to sleep behind the parking garage at my old office. We gave each other nods once, years ago, in the cold. I didn't even know his name. He never asked for anything. Never spoke. He was gone now, probably dead. But I remembered him. And that mattered. I looked up. What happens to the one I name? The devil smiled faintly. Same as you. 10 good years. Then they take your place. No, I said. They take mine. I escape it. Semantics, he said with a slight shrug. I stared at the page. Then I put the quill down. I'm not naming anyone. He said nothing. I made the deal. I knew what it meant. I'm not going to damn someone else just to squeeze out 10 more years. I admire your consistency, he said. Then, almost amused, most break before the end. He stood, adjusted his cuffs, smoothed his lapels. It'll be painless, he said. I believed him. He walked toward the door. But then he paused. One last offer. I turned to him, tired, hollowed out. No contract, no blood, just a question. I nodded. If you could do it all over again, would you sign? The question hit harder than I expected. I looked around at the apartment, the paintings, the sleek countertops, the proof of a decade I never earned. Then I remembered the gas station sink, the sleeping bag in the back seat, the hunger. I met his eyes. Yes, I said. But I wouldn't try to escape it. He smiled, not cruelly, just knowingly. And then he left. No fire, no fanfare. Just the sound of the door clicking shut behind him. That night, I went to sleep in my own bed. I didn't run, I didn't drink, I didn't pray. I waited. When I woke up the next morning, the sky was still there, blue, cloudless. I was alone. But I was still breathing. That was a year ago. I don't know why he spared me. Maybe it was mercy. Maybe the real punishment was letting me live, knowing what I almost became. The money's still there. The business still runs. Alicia never called again. I work. I sleep. I walk. I wait. Because deep down, I know this isn't over. Not really. I signed. And one day, someone will come to collect. But until then, I've made my peace. I earned 10 years I never should have had. And I paid for them. The devil didn't need to take my soul. He took everything else.